Zoom in, zoom out, shake it all about. I'm going to teach you how to zoom like a pro in Reaper. Okay, so welcome to this Reaper tutorial. Today I'm going to show you how to use the zoom tools to get everything from a project overview to getting into the items for editing audio and MIDI. So let's start off with the overview side of things. What's really useful as you're going through your editing session is to be able to zoom out to see the whole project horizontally and vertically. So what does Reaper give you out of the box? So first of all, if you go to the scroll bar, let's talk horizontally first of all. If you go to the scroll bar and double click, it actually does zoom out to the project, which is really useful. There is one little tip I can give you though. You see the space at the end of the project? We can bring that in a bit so it shows more of the actual items. If I go into my actions, which is Shift question mark, then let me show you that I have created this custom action, zoom project horizontally. If I edit this to show you what I've done, it is selecting all the items in the project, then using an action to horizontally zoom to those selected items and then unselect them all. By the way, this second action here is an SWS action. If you're not familiar with these, SWS is a set of extensions and actions. Really, really useful. I would say that Reaper it's an essential part of the Reaper experience. So I'll put a link in my description below. Go and get that. It's really, I would consider a core part of what you need to be a Reaper user. So let's come out of this and show you how this works. It's only a slight improvement, but nevertheless could be useful. If I run this action and look at the space at the end of the project, it just narrows slightly. So if you've got a big project, it might actually mean the difference between seeing some items and not. So I would suggest it's a useful thing to add. Okay, so that's horizontal zooming out to see your project. What about vertical? Let's come out of here and look at the vertical scroll bar. Now this isn't as useful as the horizontal one out of the box. If you double click, it first of all minimizes all the tracks. If you double click again, it maximizes it, but only to where you had it before. And if you double click again, it zooms in either to the track you've selected or the top track of the project. Those are the three options. What we really want is to be able to expand these tracks out so they fill the vertical space. So again, I've created a custom action to do this. If we go back into our actions, and you see I've got my custom zoom project vertically. I'll show you how this works. I first of all select all the tracks in the project. I then use another SWS action, vertical zoom to selected tracks, and then I unselect all the tracks. And the way this works, if I run it, is it expands all the tracks. This is exactly what we want. We now can see the whole project vertically and horizontally in there. So that's how you zoom out. And you see I've assigned a couple of shortcut keys to this, control page up and control page down. You can do the ones that mean most to you. So now it means that wherever I am in a project, let's mess this up a bit, zoom in and narrow the vertical axis. Now I can click control page down and control page up, and immediately I have the overview of the whole project. Okay, in this next part, we're going to look at now zooming in to items. So if you want to do some editing work on audio items, or you want to get a better view of your MIDI items, you want to go into those particular tracks. So first of all, I'm going to show you that SWS, the extension, provides you something out of the box that you can use for this. If you go to the extensions menu and zoom preferences, you can see there's a whole list of options here. I'm not going to go through all of them, but the top three are useful. It's using the middle mouse button to effectively zoom in. You can marquee items with the middle mouse item. You can single click on items to zoom in, and you can click on the empty space to zoom out. So let me show you how that works. If you've got an item here that we want to zoom in on, I just click with the mouse and it zooms in. If I go to empty space and click again with the middle mouse, it zooms out. And if I want to zoom in on a particular area, I can use the middle mouse and drag to create a marquee area, and that zooms in on that area there. Again, middle mouse to zoom out. So that's quite useful, and I use that some of the time, but I find it a bit awkward to use the middle mouse sometimes to zoom in. And also, it doesn't allow you to zoom in on regions of your item. So if you have a time selection, you want to zoom in onto a particular part, it doesn't let you do that. So let me show you another way of doing this. So again, I've used a custom action. Let's go into the actions, and you see my zoom for editing macro here. If I edit that, you'll see it's a very simple item. It selects the item under the mouse cursor, so I hover my mouse over the item I'm interested in, and then I use an SWS action to toggle the zoom to the selected items. So that'll do the same as I showed you before, but it also allows time selections as well, so it can zoom in further than just the item. I've assigned it to a key here, so I can use it straight away. Let's do the same as before using this macro. I hover over it, I hit my key, it zooms in. I hit the key again, it zooms out. Now straight away it's a bit more useful because I don't have to find empty space to zoom out. I could just go over something, Z, I'm in and out. So that's really useful. But look at this waveform at the top. It's filling up the whole project. If I zoom in on this, yes, I can see the item and the envelopes. That's great. But I might want to zoom in further on a particular area I'm working on. So let's say I wanted to zoom in on the first few bars. I've dragged a time selection around here. Now if I hit the zoom key, it zooms in on the item, but it also zooms further in on the particular section of that. And I can narrow it further here, hit the zoom key again, and it now zooms in on just that area that I'm interested in. So I think this is more useful than the middle mouse just to click on an item. So I recommend this may be something you should consider for becoming productive in zooming in and out. We've seen project overview. We've seen the zooming in on items. I just want to finish off with one last thing, and that's zooming in when you're editing MIDI items. You can see I've got a couple of MIDI items at the bottom here. If I double click on one of these to edit it, you can see that it's pretty random the way it puts it out there. And to be honest, that's the way it will start off with a lot of MIDI items. You won't know exactly what you're going to get when you zoom in. But what I personally like and think is useful is to be able to zoom in onto a single loop. You can see that this is a looped MIDI item. It has about 8 loops of the same thing. So I only really want to edit one loop. And also I'd like to zoom vertically to be able to see all of the notes in this window as well. So I'll show you what options are available to me. If I go into the actions and type zoom, there's a couple of actions here that are useful. Zoom to one loop iteration. That's pretty useful. Let's run this. So that now shows me just that 4-bar loop zoomed horizontally. But the content is still squeezed together vertically. So it'd be nice if I could expand that out. Let's try the zoom to content. If I run that, okay, now it zooms it horizontally, but it's gone back to showing me the whole item, multiple loops. So how do I do it so I get both? Well, if I run the zoom to content first, and then the zoom to one loop, it does exactly what I want. Now we've got one loop, and it's vertically zoomed as well. So I've created another macro called zoom to one loop. It's really just putting those two together. So it's zooming to content first and then zooming to one loop, and that gives me what I want. And I've assigned it to a shortcut key. So let me just mess this up. Okay, so zoom out a bit here. Okay, so now I come into my MIDI item, I hit my key, and straight away I'm zoomed in on one loop and I'm zoomed in vertically. So I just want to show you one final thing. That zoom to content and one loop works really well, except there's just one case where it's not so good. If you have, let me edit this item here. If you just have a single item, a single note, I should say, within your MIDI item, then when you try and zoom in, it doesn't expand it vertically. It's just a feature of Reaper. I guess it thinks that you just know what notes you want to add above and below, so it gives you some space. But as soon as you have at least 2 notes in there, let me move this up. 1, then it works. So now I click my zoom and it zooms in and takes up the whole screen. So just be aware of that. It's not broken. It's just a quirk. Anyway, I hope you found this tutorial useful. If you liked it, please subscribe below, and I'll be publishing new hints and tips for Reaper every weekend. So stay tuned, and I'll see you next time.